Once again, ladies and gentlemen, good evening, and welcome to the 20th Annual Statewide Tribute to Rosa Parks, the Power of One, in the company of courage. We are honored to be joined by community leaders, distinguished guests, and friends from across Ohio and the nation. This annual tribute is led by the Honorable Congresswoman Joyce Beatty, a lifelong champion for civil rights, equality, and opportunity. As Chair Emetria of the Congressional Black Caucus, a member of the Executive Steering Committee of the Democratic Women's Caucus, and ranking member of a subcommittee of the House Financial Services Committee, she has used her platform to expand opportunity, strengthen justice, and protect the rights of every American. A proud native of Ohio and inductee of the Ohio Civil Rights Hall of Fame, Congresswoman Beatty continues to carry forward her legacy of Rosa Parks through her leadership, her advocacy, and her unwavering commitment to service. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise. Please join me in welcoming to the stage Congresswoman Joyce Beatty.
While my illustrious boss takes the stage.
This is Congresswoman Beatty's 20th Annual Rosa Parks Statewide Tribute.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Terry Williams. I'm Deputy Chief of Staff and District Director to Congresswoman Joyce Beatty. Thank you all so much for coming out for our 20th anniversary of the Rosa Parks Day. I would appreciate it if you would honor the legacy of civil rights leader Rosa Parks by being attentive and not creating any intentional disruptions. They're not permitted this evening, and if continued, the responsible individuals will be removed from the event. I appreciate you, and with that, I turn it over to Congresswoman Joyce Beatty.
Thank you so much, and good evening, and what a good evening it is. I always like to say that there's nothing like home. Flying in yesterday from Washington, D.C. to be here to celebrate the 20th year that this community has rallied around us to host this event on the actual day 70 years ago that Rosa Parks sparked that 381-day bus boycott. So let me just say thank you again for being here, the power of one in the company of courage. But I'd like to thank our honorary community hosts for your presence tonight and for supporting this event. And I think they're going to put the names up here, so I won't read them, but just know I truly appreciate all that you've done to continue to support us. As I said earlier, on December the 1st, 1955, Rosa Parks was arrested for refusing to surrender her seat, the seat that she was assigned to sit in, to a white man, igniting a 381-day bus boycott. It galvanized the civil rights movement. Names we know now through history were not the names we know now, but for Rosa Parks, names like Martin Luther King Jr. And this year, as it marks the 70th anniversary of her courageous stand, it also, as I had said earlier, celebrates our 20th anniversary. I remember it like yesterday when I walked into the State House and knew that day that I wanted to make a difference. And I was so fortunate that we were able to do something that history had not often done. And that was to pass a piece of legislation with an emergency clause, getting it signed by Democrats and Republicans and walking it into the governor's office and having him look at me and say, together, we can do this. And now my greatest honor is to ask then Governor, now my governor, and my friend, Governor Bob Taft, to please stand. This would not have been possible without Governor Bob Taft. And we are here today because you, and certainly Madam First Lady Hope Taft, please stand up and be recognized. Thank you. Tonight we celebrate in the company of courage our special guest, the President and CEO, Monica Téllez-Fowler of the Central Ohio Transit Authority. I am so honored that you are here to join President of The Ohio State University, my friend, Walter Ted Carter, Jr. Also joining us tonight is my friend, my mentor, my colleague, historian, and author, Congressman James E. Clyburn. And last but not least, another dear friend, an Emmy Award-winning journalist, Ed Gordon. And now I welcome to the stage my partners, my friend, the President and CEO, Monica Téllez-Fowler, and President Ted Carter.
Congresswoman Beatty, President Carter, distinguished guests, partners, and friends, good evening. It is my profound honor to join you for this 20th anniversary celebration of Rosa Parks Day. Each year, COTA is grateful to stand with Congresswoman Beatty, who successfully championed the statewide day of recognition, and our partners at The Ohio State University to uplift the extraordinary legacy of Rosa Parks and to reflect on what her courage continues to ask of us today. 70 years ago, this past Monday, Rosa Parks made a choice that was quiet, resolute, and world-changing. By refusing to give up her seat, she forced our nation to confront an uncomfortable truth, that equal rights could not be delayed, denied, or negotiated. She affirmed that access, in every sense of the word, is foundational to freedom. Her act reminds us that public transportation is more than getting from one place to another. It is tied to justice, to dignity, to the promise that every person deserves the ability to move freely through their community and toward opportunity. At COTA, that belief guides every decision we make. This year, work has accelerated across Central Ohio, thanks to leaders, including Congresswoman Beatty, our federal and local partners, and the overwhelming support of our residents. COTA and our regional partners are turning the vision of Link Us into reality. This is one of the most significant mobility investments in our region's history, and it is rooted in the same values that Rosa Parks fought for. Link Us isn't simply about building world-class transit. It is about expanding access, real, measurable access, for every Central Ohioan and future visitor to our region. It includes access to jobs through more frequent, reliable service, access to health care with better connections to our hospitals and clinics, access to education, including high school, colleges, universities, and trade schools, access to safe sidewalks, bikeways, and trails that ensure people of all ages and abilities can move through the neighborhoods with confidence, and access to opportunity, especially for families and communities that have historically been left out of economic growth. Over the past year, COTA has taken major steps to ensure our system reflects the needs and voices of the region. We expanded late-night service, added new operator positions to strengthen reliability, and continued growing programs that make fares simpler and more affordable. In 2026, we're preparing for Line 30, connecting Dublin, Hilliard, and Upper Arlington to The Ohio State University, an important link for workforce access. And we are headed toward the construction of our first ever rapid transit line, with more on the way in years ahead. Thank you. These investments carry forward the legacy of Rosa Parks because they recognize dignity, not as an aspiration, but as a right to all. Still, her legacy calls us to do more. Rosa Parks was not demanding fairness, but she was also demanding structural change. And today, as our region grows by nearly 1 million people over the next few decades, we must answer that call with the same courage and clarity she embodied. Tonight, as we celebrate the power of one, let us remember this. Rosa Parks did not set out to become a historical figure. She set out to right something that was wrong. She showed us that one moment of courage can bend the arc of history. At COTA, we carry Rosa Parks' legacy with humility and responsibility. We honor her by advancing mobility that lifts people up and designing systems that reflect the needs of many, not few. And by ensuring that access in Central Ohio is not determined by income, zip code, or circumstances, but a guaranteed fundamental right. Congresswoman Beatty, thank you for 2 wonderful decades of celebrating this important milestone, and thank you for all your shared commitment to building a more connected, more just, and more accessible future for all. Thank you, and happy holiday season.
Well, good evening, everyone. It's a real honor to be with you here tonight. This is my second year as president here at Ohio State, and I'm honored to have been part of this amazing ceremony for my second straight year. I want to say thank you to Congresswoman Beatty for that introduction previously, and thanks to all of you and to Monica for your remarks. It is a great honor to be here with Congresswoman Beatty and Congressman Clyburn, along with Monica and our friends from COTA, Ohio State colleagues, elected leaders, and fellow community leaders and members to pay tribute to the life and legacy of Rosa Parks. I thank each and every one of you for being here. Tonight's event is especially meaningful as we are coming together for the 20th time to reflect on the enduring impact that Ms. Parks has had not only in Central Ohio, but across our entire nation. We owe our gratitude to Congresswoman Beatty for her leadership in bringing us together each year for this event. And we are fortunate to have her representing us in Washington. In Congresswoman Beatty, Ohioans have a passionate champion on issues that make a difference in all of our Ohioans' lives. Higher education is certainly on that list. Ohio State is proud to work with our federal delegation to create opportunities for all students and build a vibrant future for our state through our research and workforce development. Thank you, Congresswoman. We reflect this evening on the meaning of courage and the power that each and every one of us has to make a difference. 38 years for me, personally, wearing the cloth of our nation as a naval officer taught me that concepts of freedom and courage are deeply personal. Acts of courage look different for everyone. That's healthy and appropriate. The reason I chose to serve was to defend our rights to our deeply held personal beliefs. And I'm grateful and proud to be part of a community where we can come together, have good dialogue, and unite around shared values and purpose. We'll see an example of that throughout this evening to include our panel discussion. Courage, to me, is about doing what you believe is right, even when it's hard, even when it's unpopular, even when it's risky. Courage is about knowing your values and staying true to them and giving others space to do the same. Courage isn't about the absence of fear. Sometimes we assume that if we're scared, we're not courageous. I can tell you, having flown 125 combat missions in 5 different theaters of operation, I was scared. I was scared a lot. Courage is also about being resilient in the face of fear, in the face of danger, personal discomfort, or uncertainty. Rosa Parks embodied those qualities as well as anyone in our history. With quiet strength, she made courageous choices that have inspired future generations, even when she had to sacrifice personal comfort in the short term. And although we may not ever know what was in her heart, I'm pretty sure she was pretty fearful when she went through those decisions. And she proved that the power of one can change the course of history. That's a lesson that has stood the test of time, even over 70 years. A single person, a single action, has the power to create meaningful and lasting change. I think we can all unite around the idea that each of us should do everything we can to harness that power in our daily lives and have the courage to act to serve the common good. We may not all be remembered in the history books the way Rosa Parks is. Our good words and deeds may sometimes not be noticed by anyone at all. But when we commit ourselves to serving a purpose greater than ourselves, the common good of all people, we can each be a force for positive change. It may not always be easy. It may not always be popular, but each of us has the freedom to choose courage and create good. It's up to us to act. Again, thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you for allowing me the personal privilege and the opportunity to be with you this evening on this very special 20th anniversary event. And I hope you were inspired by some of the words that you hear here tonight. Thank you all very much.
Oh, we can do a little better than that. Let's give a rousing applause for Central Ohio Transit Authority, the president of the Ohio State University. And let me say to both of you, I could not have done this without a partnership. And for the last 20 years, we have made this happen. And let's give a rousing applause to this audience. Thank you so much. As we prepare to bring Congressman Jim Clyburn to the stage, we're going to do a transition, and we're going to ask you to look to the screen because this is what history is all about. And they will immediately come to the stage, and then we will have our awards presentation. Thank you. author of Conversations in Black, where he examined the state of Black America with more than 40 nation leaders. Thank you.
Good evening. While they mic up, I'd just like to do just a little bit of housekeeping, if you will. First of all, we are so happy to see you, and I am often astounded when I come to events like this and I don't see the room full. Because I think for a number of generations, we've lost the sense of importance of history, and we've lost the connection of history and what that means. And so I am so happy to see this room full tonight. So thank you for coming out. The other thing I will tell you is travel is not an easy thing to do in today's world. So the congressman has a tight flight. So if you see him run off, that's why. But we are going to get as much in as we possibly can. I will take the Jay Leno, Johnny Carson, Stephen Colbert seat this evening and go from there. If I may, let me start, Congressman Clyburn, with you and ask you to touch on what I just touched on. You have written a book, a brand new book, The First Eight, and it talks about the importance of those Congress people who kind of laid the road for the rest of us to follow. And we think about saluting Rosa Parks this day and for the 19 before. Give us a sense of why it's important for us to understand and give a connection to today as the fight continues.
Well, Ed, thank you very much for the question, and thanks to being here this evening. And thank you, Joyce. Joyce is a very close personal friend of mine. I would not be sitting here enjoying having been House Majority Whip twice, but for Joyce Beatty, and I call it the Ohio delegation. And thank you so much for your friendship. It's a great question. This is my third book. My third book was called Uncommon Courage. And that book was about those people in Summerton, South Carolina, that started the effort that became Brown v. Board of Education. That case started, the two people, Elijah and Harry Briggs, unlettered, didn't have a high school diploma. One was making $23 a week as a service station attendant. The other, $18 a week as a child lady in a motel. But the two of them decided that they wanted something better for their children. Most people don't know about them, so I wrote a book about them. My second book is about somebody you'll have gotten to know, is my memoir, 11 years ago. But one day, right after I wrote that book, a group of people came to my office, and they saw these 8 pictures up on the wall of my conference room, and asked me who were those people. And as I explained who they were, one of them said, "My goodness, I thought you were the first African American to serve in Congress from South Carolina." And I kind of playfully said, "Oh no, before I was first, there were 8. And I said to my staff later that day, my next book is going to be about these 8 people, because I wanted to introduce the country, the world, if you please, to these 8 people. But in the middle of writing the book, the elections of 2020 happened. And then the reaction to the election of 2020. And when I saw those people banging on the doors up there in Michigan, I saw what they were doing in Pennsylvania, trying to set up alternate electors to try to get the election of 2020 thrown into the House of Representatives. I said to myself, this book has got to be more than just an introduction of 8 people. This book has to be instructive. And so I called the publisher and I told the publisher, I'm going to start over because we've got to write this book from a different perspective. And that's what this book is about. Not just about the 8 people, but why there was 95 years between number 8 and yours truly, number 9. This book is about those 95 years, what led to those 95 years, and what I see on the horizon if we do not check what's beginning to happen in this great country. There was a reporter outside who asked me, thank you. This reporter wanted to know why Rosa Parks we celebrate, and there were 2 other people with her that day, and nobody ever talks about them. I was pleased to tell the reporter there were 2 people before that day that nobody ever talks about. Mary Bowens down in Charleston in 1870, who got on a streetcar and refused to give up her seat and was arrested 1870s. And then Sarah Mae Fleming in Columbia, South Carolina, who refused to give up her seat. In fact, if you read the court case on Rosa Parks, the Supreme Court makes it clear that we have already decided this issue on public transit. In the case of Sarah Mae Fleming versus South Carolina Electric and Gas. Now, why don't we know about those? Because there's been a deliberate attempt to keep these contributions out of print, out of our schools. I learned about these 8 people from my mother's kindergarten, and I'm 85 years old. My mother had a kindergarten when I was 3 years old, and that's when I learned about Robert Smalls, Joseph Rainey, Richard Kane, who happened to have been from Ohio, graduated from Wilberforce University, and became the 4th African-American to serve in Congress from South Carolina. So there is an interesting connection about all of this to today, and that's why I wrote the book.
Joyce, I want to follow up on that, and here's what's interesting to me. You, it seems, were forward-thinking 20 years ago when you knew the importance of this. I remember there was a move some years ago to try to convince people that Rosa Parks was simply lazy and tired, and that's why she didn't want to give up that seat. As the congressman just said, the attacks now on history that we see from this administration, it's interesting to me because those attempts to erase history aren't new. They were clandestine before. They're in the open now. Give me a sense of what we must do, and I'm going to underline and emphasize must do, to make sure that it is not eradicated, because if we think that it can't be eradicated, we would be sadly mistaken.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ed, for that. Thank you so much for that question. First, I always like to start with, when we're talking about Black Americans, Black history, it's important to know that Black history is American history, first of all. And it is so important for us to have our history, and especially for us to tell our history accurately. Mr. Clyburn just mentioned that a reporter challenged and questioned us about Rosa Parks. And I said, well, I hope you stay in the room to look to the screen.
Right.
Because we had what Mr. Clyburn just said. We featured those who came before Rosa Parks. And I think it's so important because Jim and I were fortunate in a way, both coming out of a very religious family. His father, a pastor, a preacher, my grandfather. So when I was growing up, I would hear my parents talk about Rosa Parks and what happened. So all my life, I heard about women who I did not know well. Now, I met Rosa Parks. I did not meet Fannie Lou Hamer. But as a young girl, I always wanted to say, I'm going to make a difference. And every time that I was approached to be arrested, I said, I want to go out like Fannie Lou Hamer. and every time I thought about leaving a legacy for some of the young girls here, when people challenged me, I said, I want to have the strength of Rosa Parks. Because Rosa Parks was not tired physically. She was not lazy. She made a conscious decision that she was tired of being discriminated against. She was tired of not being respected and recognized for doing what was right. So you have to understand, when you see the pictures that we are showing, she was sitting in the first seat of the colored folks section. She wasn't sitting up front where they were disallowed in sitting. And so when that same bus driver who had threatened her before, so she was tired of discrimination, tired of being disrespected and not being treated equally. And so when he said to her, I'm going to arrest you, she sat there quietly. I can almost see her folding her hands and saying, so be it. And so I like to say I come in Rosa Parks fashion when people mess with me. So be it. And she knew she was going to be arrested. But lastly on this, the most important part of this is it's so important for us to have partnerships and relationships and supporting one another. She immediately did what's in our culture. She went to the churches. She went to the ministry. She went to getting civil rights leaders and lawyers, and they all rallied around her. Martin Luther King Jr. was not a known commodity as we know him now through history, but he witnessed what this brave young woman was doing. And together, they came together with so many other people. A. Philip Randolph was there, and they came together. A sister by the last name of Robinson passed out the flyers there. So those are heroes that you don't hear in the context. And I want to make sure that young students, young children understand the history. That's why many of you will receive a book tonight at the courtesy of a small foundation that I have started more than 20 years ago, Fire and Focus. So about 60 or 70 of you will receive a book. And the rest of you, we will figure out a way to make sure that we give you the date that you can attend and also pick up Mr. Clyburn's book, because it teaches us so much that we don't know.
And we should note it is important to continue to teach younger people, because the further we get generations from the actual action of whatever happens, they tend not to feel it in the same way. Joyce talked about her sitting in the first seat of the colored section. The reality is, if a white person got on and their section was full, they could literally make you get up and give up that seat. And I know some of y'all say, not me, not me. Wrong. It would be you too.
Right.
But let me see if I can walk it to where we sit today, because I think it's important. Congressman Clyburn, if I may, it's important to look at history in relation to the attack on government and democracy. We're hearing that, but I think a lot of people, and I don't mean just young people, a lot of people believe, yeah, but that can't be. In spite of all that we've seen, in spite of the insurrection, in spite of a man who sits in the Oval Office who has little concern about law, give us a sense of how we can apply what happened prior to today to what we must know and what we must fight to keep democracy in the fore.
Well, the first thing I think we need to understand is the power of this slogan, the power of one. And that is more pronounced with these 8 people that I wrote about than anything that I know. The 3 most important things that happened after the Civil War that led to the need for Rosa Parks were all determined by a single vote. When then President, former Vice President Andrew Johnson was Lincoln's vice president. So when Lincoln was assassinated, Andrew Johnson became president. And Andrew Johnson set out to undo everything that Abraham Lincoln had done. He was a white supremacist, a slave owner, and he wanted to restore, in my book I call it redeem the South through his pre-Civil War days. And he ignored everything Congress was passing laws for him to do. And the House of Representatives impeached him. And when the impeachment was sent to the Senate failed to convict him by one vote, a single vote. That led to the 1876 presidential election. And Ohio figured in that as well. Rutherford B. Hayes was from Ohio. And Rutherford B. Hayes, who had received the endorsement and the presence of Robert Smalls, who was number 6 on the list of 8. He campaigned for Rutherford B. Hayes. But Rutherford B. Hayes, when the election was over, the voting was over, he had come up short of the Electoral College vote by 20. You needed 185 back then. He only had 165. His opponent from New York, Samuel Tilden, had 184. He missed the Electoral College vote by a single vote. But the election got thrown into the House of Representatives. And when the election got thrown into the House of Representatives, the House could not figure out what to do. So the House appointed a 15-member commission and said, y'all meet with these 2 candidates, y'all figure out what to do, come back and give us a recommendation as to how we should resolve this issue. The commission went out, met with the candidates, and they decided by a vote of 8-7 to give those 20 votes to Hayes. Hayes then went from 165 to 185 and became president of the United States by a single vote, 185 to 184. Why? Because Hayes committed. You give me these 20 votes. Those 20 votes were in 3 states, Florida, Louisiana, and South Carolina. All 3 were slave states. And they wanted to redeem pre-Civil War South. And Hayes promised, give me the 20 votes, I'll bring an end to Reconstruction. They gave him the 20 votes. He brought an end to Reconstruction. So Reconstruction came to a close by a vote of 8-7, a single vote. Hayes became president of the United States and initiated the activities that became Jim Crow. So Jim Crow became the law of the land by a vote of 185 to 184. So the first thing this book teaches us is the power of one. And don't you ever say, my one vote won't count. That is the first thing.
Joyce, I want to take that to present day, because one of the things that I don't think we're talking enough about, I go all over the country, host town halls. I was just at the CBC weekend. I do a lot for the folks who are fighting in Congress. I've been covering politics for 30 plus years now, spoken in the Oval Office to many a president, never seen anything like this in my entire life. It is extraordinary. Midterms. I don't hear people talking about it enough. I don't hear enough excitement or zeal. I am pushing Democrats and others to get the word out, to talk about just that one thing. You may not believe that your vote counts, but when you look at the Supreme Court right now, and I tell people, forget the Oval Office, look to that court. And the turn we've seen in the last decade is extraordinary. Give us a sense, if you will, Congresswoman, of why we must understand what the Congressman just said about your vote counting, and more specifically, why we must, even if you're disillusioned, I always say, then don't make Election Day your only day of participation.
Exactly.
If I put you in office, then go demand.
And I think you just said it, and I'll also share the response with Jim, because we talk about this whole thing of where we are now, and it's one of the most critical times in our lives, because if we are going to make a change from where we are, we just witnessed the longest shutdown in the history of the Congress. And we witnessed how devastating that was, because it wasn't just us shutting down government as we had seen in the past. It was affecting people in keeping their jobs, in childcare, and what happens when they weren't able to go to the grocery store and buy things. History is so important. And as I was thinking about what you just said, Jim, it reminded me of Ohio. It was 50-some years from the time that Lou Stokes was elected in Cleveland, Ohio. We had never had a black member of Congress elected outside of not only Cleveland, but Lou Stokes' district. So when you think about this whole history, until 50 years later, when it was just a little more than one vote, I was running and won against a non-African American. Had I not won, and here we are 15 years later, it would have almost caught up with your 90 years since we would have had another black American to serve. 50 years before in the capital city, we were able to elect someone. So voting makes a difference. Because of your vote, I'm able to serve. And when we look at what's happening in Texas, when we look at how it is taking away minority representation, but let me do it on the positive side. And I like hearing you talk about Virginia and what happened in the state of Virginia. So I'm going to defer to our guest to talk about those races now, and it directly will be the best example I can think of to give you about midterm elections.
Well, I think that all of us have to really know that when our country is at a crossroads. There's no question about that. And none of us know exactly which road we're going to take. One thing I do know, that they cannot be the road less traveled. I'm not going to argue with Robert Frost about his analogy, but it must be a road that we have traveled often, time and time again, but every now and then we tend to feel that that one day of election is done it all. I was born and raised in a parsonage. I didn't follow my father into the ministry, but I learned a lot of my politics from that kindergarten, from that church Sunday school, and from my father's sermons. And I have never forgotten, and I still live by the passage found in the book of Hebrew, the 11th chapter and the very first verse. Faith, the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things unseen. You cannot lose faith. Rosa Parks was not on a lark, and she was not physically tired. She was mentally, emotionally tired. However, she trained for this job. Septima Ponce Clark from Charleston, South Carolina, went to Highlander School in Tennessee. She trained
Sure did.
Rosa Parks for the job. Somebody else had been trained earlier, and they came to the conclusion that the challenges that we are going to be faced with this effort, this person will not measure up emotionally. So Rosa Parks was selected for it and trained for it. And all that you see in her was what she was trained to do, trained so that you and I could benefit from that sacrifice she took. So in Virginia, when I got there during the campaign, and I was talking to people, people were not so sure. And every place I went, I recited that one scripture. Don't lose faith, the substance of your hopes. I know you can't see it, but the evidence is clear. Same thing in New Jersey. And it happened. And everybody says, didn't see this coming. No. But you got to keep faith. Keep faith in this process. Keep faith in yourselves. John Lewis walked across the Edmund Pettus Bridge, and as was said earlier, he was scared. I know he was scared. He told me how scared he was. When I sat in those jails in South Carolina, I was scared. So you have to develop the courage to overcome fear. That's what it's all about. Sure, you're going to get scared, but you can't lose faith. And when you put on the armor of faith, you can move mountains. I'm not giving up on this country. I'm not giving in to the opposition. I'm going to take on as George said, yeah, I met Rosa Parks. I spent a lot of time with Rosa Parks. She was on the staff of John.
Yeah.
When he
Conyers for 19 years or more.
Yeah, she was on the staff. John Lewis and I met as 19-year-old college students. I met John Lewis, never forget the date, October 15, 1960. We sat down for what's supposed to be a 1-hour meeting with Martin Luther King Jr. at 10 o'clock in the evening. He gave us 1 hour. When we left that room, it was 3 o'clock the next morning. John and I was never the same from that meeting. We developed the courage to overcome the fear. Now, John did a little better than I did. John internalized nonviolence. I never quite got there.
Is that why I'm in trouble now? Because, but let me just add this to you before we say, because it's so important and for this audience and being here, how we continue the legacy.
May I do this? Just a personal point of privilege.
Absolutely.
Do not lose your thought.
Okay.
What they want to do is they want to make sure that we get a picture. So what I'd like to do, the photographer's going to come up. The three of us are going to stand with the backs to the audience. They're going to get the audience
so we get
back
everybody.
of us.
Okay.
But with that, I am going to say before we lose John and lose the moment, the power of one should never be forgotten because it's not just the voter either.
Yes.
Without this one man, Joe Biden does not see the White House.
That's right.
No, it's true. I know you was hitting that night like Ali, talking about, I'm the champ, I'm the champ, I'm the champ. But we thank you for that. And we thank you for all of your years that you have given to us.
And I thank you. Thank you.
I appreciate that. So what we're going to do, just hold on before Joyce gives us that thought, because I was going to ask you to do that anyway. I think it's important to talk about the importance of voting rights and whatever you're going to bring up. So if I could ask you guys to stand. You guys in the middle have a role in this, so, you know, put your best smiles on. I'm told you're going to come up here, is that right? They didn't tell you? I was told. Okay, so you instruct us from there.
You're doing a selfie, right?
I don't know.
Yes, we're gonna get the audience and get us. So we have to step down
And
here.
then I'll come back here.
You want us to go down
Yes,
here?
if you can come down that way, and then I'll stay up here.
Okay.
Let me help you.
Thank you. Okay.
So I'll give you guys first, and then
Okay.
1, 2, 3. All right, one more, 1, 2, and 3. Perfect, now you guys can do yourself. Put your phone.
Oh,
Hold on.
I don't think we have phones.
I don't know.
Okay. Here we go.
All right, I'm going to do a video so y'all act up when I say 1, 2, 3.
Okay, jump in and I'm gonna get it on our phone. Look up, Jim. Okay.
All right, hold on, and then Jim's leaving us. Because he's going to get me if he misses his flight.
And it's a selfie, so you guys can wait.
All right, you ready?
Yes.
All right, here we go, people. Act up. All right. Let us give Congressman Jim Clyburn a big hand, please.
And we're doing good. You got 5 minutes.
You're going to take it from here.
Okay.
Thank you. See you, everybody. Thank you. Appreciate you. Thank you. Good to see you, man.
I'm Coretta Scott King's cousin.
Absolutely.
And Jim, stand right there for one moment. Jim, stand there for one moment because I was going to say this later. Reverend Joel King, would you please stand up? Both of you. We are so fortunate, and this is why history is important. We not only have direct descendant from Martin Luther King Jr. in having his cousin, the Reverend Joel King here, we also have on Coretta Scott's, I hope I'm getting this right, on Coretta Scott King's side, family, right here in Columbus, Ohio, who have never missed being here for us. So we love you. Joel King, thank you for keeping the King legacy. Greg Foster, thank you. As Jim is leaving to go give another speech in South Carolina tonight, let me in as he's going out the room to say why history is important, because also we have to continue to tell the story. Think about, I'm not in old time, but right here in modern time, that I had the opportunity to talk and sit with Rosa Parks, but also greater than that when you talk about voting. Can you imagine what it's like sitting on the United States House floor with John Conyers there, who Rosa Parks worked for almost 20 years? Can you imagine having John Lewis sitting to the right of you, telling you the stories of the Edmund Pettus Bridge, and it wasn't the first or the second or the third time that they crossed it. He decided that it wasn't the right time. And I tell you this so you don't get frustrated that we may not have gotten it right the last time. But we have an opportunity in midterm elections to get it right now. And that's why we can't give up hope. And when you think of right here, we have the opportunity to vote and make a difference in those midterm elections, but we also can be a part of current history. We have a person serving in the United States Congress as the House leader who is on the verge, if midterm elections go right, that we could be a part of history in our lifetime again, that Congressman Hakeem Jeffries could be the Speaker of the United States House of Representatives. That person is the third most powerful person in the country in the lineup to be president if something would happen. And so that is a part of our history that we want to pass on to our children. And it's so important for us to work together in a bipartisan fashion. It's also important for us to work together, whether black, white, brown, or other, because none of the history happened with only black people marching. None of it happened with only black people being denied at those drugstore counters. It was the young white college students who came and put their lives, and some lost their lives, because they were marching with us for the greater good. And so that's another reason that I continue this legacy. So we will be able to tell the stories. And I know it to be true, not only because of the diversity in this room. Last night I'm in a restaurant, and a wait staff person who didn't look like me entered the room and saw Jim Clyburn and Joyce Beatty. And as he was supposed to be doing the work with the room, he just paused and hung on to every word because it was so important to him. So today I called over to ask him what he thought. And he said, I will be able to one day tell my children and families that I was a part of history. And I wasn't a big educated person. I'm working in a restaurant. But just think of how that young majority male is going to be talking about Jim Clyburn and Joyce Beatty, and we will be dead and gone. And he will be saying, I was part of black history. And we were talking about Rosa Parks and John Lewis and all of the things we've done. So that's why we do it tonight, to leave a legacy. Thank you. Thank you.
Let me just say one thing, because certainly Jim deserved his flowers, but I want to give Joyce flowers for this moment and this reason. My cousin and I, Adam Troy, who's from here, he drove me over. We were in the car, and we old, so Marvin Gaye's "What's Going On" came on. And you know, we started grooving, but we both said, isn't it ironic that everything he's saying in that song is unfortunately still relevant today? One of the things that was so relevant, unfortunately, back then was the danger, physical danger, to step out and speak up and fight the power. There were years I think we thought we're past that, but we are not. And so let us just say to Joyce and so many others that we got your back.
Thank you.
We appreciate and we love all of what you do. So I will give this back to Joyce so she can say goodnight. Thank you so much for coming and attending.
Thank you so much. Let's give Ed Gordon another big round of applause. And now one of the most important parts of the program that I am so excited about. Tonight we honor a man who helped me make this possible. He was the 67th governor of the state of Ohio. My good friend, we've stayed in touch over the 20 years. I've traveled to Dayton to speak in his University of Dayton class. He's never not responded when we've called. Governor Taft, it's almost like it was 20 years ago. So I want to say to you, thank you, because you have helped us make this audience and others understand the power of one, each using their voice and vision to move our community. And so we want to thank you and would ask you if you would come to the stage. We're going to allow you. I know you didn't know we were going to do this, and I know you don't like that we're doing this, but I have the mic, and you're a past governor, and I'm a U.S. Congresswoman.
Boy, I tell you, this lady knows how to set you up, doesn't she? Woo! I am just so pleased to be here with Congresswoman Joyce Beatty, who I have admired for so long, a good friend. You know, I signed the bill, but she deserved the credit. It was her vision that we should never, ever forget the story of Rosa Parks, a story of determination and courage, and a decision by one woman that led to the boycott, Montgomery Improvement Association, Martin Luther King, the Civil Rights Movement, and so many more changes that have happened. But she is the one who realized that we shouldn't forget, our children shouldn't forget, our grandchildren shouldn't forget. And she made sure that Ohio was the first state to have a Rosa Parks Day passed in law. So, you know, I am in awe of Rosa Parks and what she did to this day. And by the way, you know, they said, weren't you tired? She said, the only tired I was tired of giving in. That's all she said. I was tired of giving in to discrimination and to segregation. And she is a role model for all of us, for our children and our grandchildren. And this woman here made sure that Ohio and the people in Ohio will certainly never forget. God bless you, and thank you so much.
Thank you. And what we have is the actual legislation of 20 years ago that was written 20 years ago today. We commissioned a black artist to do a portrait of Rosa Parks, so we want you to have a copy of that. And then if you don't know these two folks, it is the day that he invited me into this governor's office and we signed the bill. So thank you. Thank you. We'll hand it down to you.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. Take this for him. I'll let him take it, and then you can. There you go. Thank you. For 20 years, we've done this celebration. And when you have a 20th anniversary, we were sitting in our office, and Terry and I were talking, and I said, I can't believe it was 20 years ago. And leaving a legacy should never be about yourself. And when we talk about, as Ed Gordon had said, how will we continue this legacy? Well, I sat there and we thought about Rosa Parks. And we thought about the strength that it would take to do what she did. She had had some health care issues. And there wasn't a lot of insurance. There were probably a lot of emergency room visits. There probably weren't a lot of physicians who really cared and helped her. So when we thought about the power of one and being in the courage of company, we thought of Dr. Laurel S.B. Bell. We thought of her because of her work day in and day night, having the opportunity to go and work anywhere with her brilliance and attitude. She decided that she was going to do what she loved, what her family had taught her. So would you please stand? We want to recognize you as one of 3 inaugural 20-year recipients of the Power of One. And I think we have a video. Can I do them each at a time, or I got to do them? Okay, I'm going to do what I'm told. And then when we think about going back in history 70 years and what propelled me to do it as a civil rights activist, someone who grew up in the labor movement, someone who read and understood A. Philip Randolph, we sat there and we could only think of one person, and not a female. While there may have been many, but when we thought about this community, we said, what would Rosa say if we didn't have a female? And we believe that Rosa would say, give the legacy and give the audience the best that you have. And it was for that reason, Andre Washington, we decided to bestow up on you the 20th year inaugural for movement of the labor movement, for your work with the NAACP, and for always reaching out not only from Ohio, but all the way to Washington and across this nation in the role that you play. Please rise. Andre Washington. And then as I think of that day, I sat with Rosa Parks and witnessed her prepare to speak before an audience. She talked about having the courage of walking away from something and doing something else. She talked about economic development, but she talked to that audience that day about saying, it's not about me, Rosa Parks. It's about the other people that I mentor, the people that I bring along. It's about being a quiet giant, never needing to be in the spotlight, but always holding the spotlight on others. She talked about power and strength and pride and being proud of who you are and standing tall. And it was very easy for me because when I started Rosa Parks, being at the State House, and when I left, I thought, how and what will I do with this? And I went to The Ohio State University. And Don Tyler Lee, I met, and my life and history changed because of the work that you did. One of the first, if not the first, chair of the Central Ohio Transit Authority, leading the way, speaking at this very event. At The Ohio State University, bringing together the pack, something that no one had ever done before, being courageous. So when I think about being in the company of courage, I think about you, my friend. Please stand, Don Tyler Lee. And now, if we can bring up the video.
Good evening, and thank you for this profound honor to be recognized at the 20th Annual Statewide Tribute to Rosa Parks. When I think about Rosa Parks, I think about the way she used one quiet act to shift the direction of an entire nation. She reminded us that courage does not always roar. Sometimes it settles into a single steady decision. I will not move from what I know is right. That moment, her moment, still echoes through every community that continues the work of justice. I stand here tonight because of women like her, women who understood the power of one is never solitary. It multiplies, it gathers, it creates room for others. That is the lesson that I learned from my mother, Kathy Duffy SB. This year's theme, In the Company of Courage, invites us to reflect on the people who have shaped us. I have been surrounded by courageous women my entire life, colleagues who push for equity, mentors who speak truth even when it's costly, friends who steady me when the ground shakes, and sheroes who never let me forget why this work matters. Their courage has influenced not just what I do, but how I do it, with clarity, with compassion, and with a willingness to stand firm, even when the room grows quiet. So tonight, I accept this award with deep gratitude to Congresswoman Joyce Beatty, to the organizers, to the community partners, and to every single person who believes in the power of one act, one voice, one moment of courage. And I accept it in honor of the women who have walked before me, Rosa Parks, whose quiet defiance changed history, and to my mother, Kathy Duffy SB, whose belief in the power of women continues to live on. Amen. Thank you for seeing me. Thank you for seeing this work and for allowing me to stand here very humbled, grateful, and very much in the company of courage. Thank you.
A heartfelt thank you to Congresswoman Joyce Beatty, the driving force who 20 years ago had the courage and the vision to secure December 1st as Rosa Parks Day in Ohio. Because of you, this movement in history continues to shine. Thank you to COTA, our lifetime champions and steadfast supporters of the power of one. Your partnership keeps the legacy moving forward. And a big thank you to the Ohio State University and President Carter for standing with us, lifting this work higher and helping us honor Rosa Parks in a bold and meaningful way. When we look back at the Montgomery bus boycott, we see a movement that shook the soul of this nation. But beyond the victory was a force that shaped the movement, the discipline and the unity of the boycott. The labor movement, built by giants like Asa Philip Randolph. Randolph taught Black workers something people in power never wanted them to know. When we stand together, we are powerful. Through the Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters, he built the first successful Black union. And he created a blueprint that leaders of the boycott followed. Carpool systems, fundraising, national networks, and the courage to hold the line day after day. So when Dr. King and others launched the 381-day protest, they were moving inside Randolph's framework. The labor movement wasn't just supporting the boycott, it was the backbone. And as for African Americans today, that legacy is more than history, it's a calling. When we unite, we change conditions. And when we lead with courage, we don't just make history, we move history. And let the record show, we are still moving, we are still marching, and as long as we stand together like Asa Philip Randolph and Rosa Parks taught us, there is no power nowhere that can stop us. Thank you.
Don Tyler Lee.
When I think of the bold and courageous actions of Rosa Parks, I'm so inspired. She had no idea that her sitting down would give permission to women like Glenna Watson, the first Black woman CEO of the Central Ohio Transit Authority, to lead. Our current CEO, Monica Téllez-Fowler, to lead. She had no idea that she'd be given permission to people like me, who was the chair of COTA, or to Trudy Bartley. She was so inspirational by her small actions that opened up opportunities for people she would never even meet. There's a saying that goes something like, someone can't do everything, but everyone can do something. And that's what Rosa Parks did. She did something that would change the trajectory of so many other people. So as you think about where you can make impact in the world, what is the small thing that you can do to help a neighbor, to inspire a young person, to help make the path a little bit easier for someone coming behind you? That's what the legacy of Rosa Parks and the power of one is all about. When I think about this 20th anniversary of Rosa Parks Day, the power of one in the company of courage, I can't help but to think about my grandmother. My grandmother, Anna Williams, raised my mom and my mom's 3 siblings in Jersey City, New Jersey in the 40s and 50s. My grandmother wanted better for her children, as all parents do, and she was intentional about making sure they were exposed to new people, new opportunities that would help them be great. I am truly honored to receive this award this evening from my mentor, my Shiro, my friend, Congresswoman Joyce Beatty. Congratulations to the other honorees, and thank you so much for the life that you lead that reminds us that it just takes one person to make a difference in the life of another. Thank you.
Wow. And now would you come to the stage? Dr. Laura Espy Bell, Andre Washington, and Don Tyler Lee. Let's give them another rousing applause. And to the honorees, we know that you have committed your life to doing this. And when we thought about what we could give you, a plaque would have been nice, a bowl or a piece of crystal. But we thought, since we commissioned this piece and this portrait 10 years ago, we had a vision that we would hold it because we wanted it to be something that we would present to people in our 20th year, our 25th year, our 30th year, and beyond. So this is part of continuing a legacy. While I won't probably be standing here doing this 20 years from now, we hope that this legacy of Rosa Parks, through you all, through someone in this audience, that tonight we ask of you to continue her legacy as we continue to be the power of one in the company of courage. Thank you, and good evening.
She does not like this, and I hope I'm still employed tomorrow morning. So the Congresswoman has quite a good-sized staff, both in the district and in DC. And we all work really hard to please her, to take care of our constituents. But honestly, no one works harder than her. And we could not let this day go by without presenting you with these beautiful flowers from your favorite florist. We won't say. Yeah, there we go. And because I know she always gets the last word with us and with you all, I want to hand the mic back over, but just that is a small token of the appreciation of your staff and all the hard work you've done with us and for your constituents, and certainly bringing and continuing the legacy of Rosa Parks.
Thank you so much. And let's give a round of applause to my team. Wave your hands. I know they're working somewhere. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And if everyone has a program, and if you turn your program on the back, if there is a dot on the back of your program, okay, then Terry will work through it in the lobby. When you go out to the lobby, you will get one of Mr. Jim Clyburn's books. And that is the courtesy. Let me do one last thing so I don't get in trouble. I have board members here from Fire and Focus Scholarship Fund. And what they say, and I see our treasurer, I see our legal advisor, board member, where's Rosemary? Would you all please stand up with our board members? Let's give them a round of applause, because once they heard about this program, they decided to join as a sponsor and purchase many of Mr. Clyburn's books. So the good news for tonight, all the books did not arrive, but a significant portion did. And so those with a dot will get that. And then there are bookmarkers that they will give to you, and you'll have to follow us.
I'm going to earn my keep this evening and not have the Congresswoman. So here we are. In the lobby, just adjacent to the elevator, I have congressional staff that are there, and those of you with dots on the back of your program will receive your books tonight along with a bookmark. Those of you in the audience who still wish to receive a book will receive a bookmark, and we will collect your information and reach out to you and make sure that you get those books.
Thank you, and I don't know if the voice of God is going to send us off, but there is food out in the reception area. Thank you again for coming, and have a safe travel home.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for tonight's tribute. We invite all of our guests to continue the celebration at our reception. Please enjoy refreshments and fellowship as we honor the spirit of community that Rosa Parks discovered and inspired. Thank you very much, and good evening.